Good afternoon, Nkosi Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Nkosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Amanda Marie and Nick Motichka. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, thank you.
Awesome. So our topic today is the lifelong learning. It's a never-ending journey. The power of lifelong learning, and we will dwell into the incredible impact that continuous learning has on personal growth and professional success. And in order for you to expand your skills and knowledge and perspective. So join us today as we go through provoking journey and uncover the unlimited potential of lifelong learning and how we can revolutionize your life. Over to you, Amanda. You chose this topic. Would you like to explain to our audience the motivation behind it, please?
Yeah, well, it's the end of the school year and I'm a teacher. And so I always think about these sort of things as the school year ends. And often people think like, oh, I'm done for the year. Yay, don't have to learn anymore. But that's not the truth at all. We're learning all the time. And essentially, we are responsible for our own self-growth and development.
Okay.
And so essentially, we are constantly learning and we should strive to constantly learn. Because I was reading, I'll have to find the quote, but it was something about your level of success will never exceed your level of personal development. And that's not the exact words of the quote, but it's in the book that I'm reading right now. And I was like, that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense because unless we're striving to be better, how are we going to do better? And so when we start to take personal development growths and steps, that's where we see true growth. And if you want something to change in your life, well, then you actually have to change and learn and grow. And so I know for me that learning's never stopped just because I graduated from university or finished a degree or something like that. It actually is always continuing. And sometimes I I'll think about going and doing my doctorate degree, but then I'm like, why? I'm learning all the time, and I don't necessarily need that unless I was going to do something specific with it and needed it for that. I don't really see a purpose in going back to university just to get that expensive piece of paper, because there's opportunities for my growth and learning all of the time all around me. And when I choose to be conscious of it and take steps towards that. And so, Nick, I know you've had lots of changes and things in your life. How has lifelong learning impacted you, and how do you continue to learn and grow?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that quote that you just mentioned about how learning impacts basically our happiness and whatnot down the road, and your personal growth and whatnot. And I was just thinking about how many people are out there that are successful by societal standards, in terms of they have maybe lots of money or fancy car or whatever the thing is, but the majority of those people are really unhappy when you get down to it. And I think it's because they have stopped personal growth in a sense, and have achieved financial success. And so everyone from the outside is looking at them like, oh, you're so, like, you must be so happy and life must be so good. And that's just not the case at all. When you stop growing as a person, I think you will never be truly happy. And so even if you have that financial stuff, that isn't what makes people happy. And you see that all the time with people in, let's say, in Hollywood or whatever, or famous musicians, and all the mental health stuff and suicide and all that among that population. And it just really drives home for me that the continuous lifelong personal growth is that's the important part, because without that, none of the other stuff matters. So anyways, just want to touch on that quick. And then for me, I definitely was one of those people that once I was done my college degree, I thought, all right, I'm good. I don't have to learn anymore. Like you just mentioned, Amandor, and I was definitely that kid during the summer where it was just like, nope, I'm good. I don't want to learn anymore. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely found that that was a mistake, and that a lot of my happiness and fulfillment and self-esteem and all of those things have been tied to my own growth and my own learning. And when I've stopped and become stagnant, that level of happiness and fulfillment has really suffered. And so this journey that I'm on now of entrepreneurship and personal development is exactly the opposite of that stagnation. And it's that moving forward and learning something new all the time, and really just kind of taking that old saying we've all heard, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, taking that and just like obliterating it. Because I think that's just a real, I don't know if ignorance is the right word, but it's really like, it's not true at all. It's really quite the opposite. And it really, I think, gives people an excuse maybe to stay stuck and stay in the known and in their comfort zone. And as we all know, your happiness is on the other side of that comfort zone. So you got to push yourself, and learning is definitely one of those areas where that happens big time. So I'll pass it over to you, Nomsa.
So much, Nick and Amanda. I think that is what you're saying, Nick, is really spot on, because there are some people that they never really work on their personal growth, like what you were saying, that you find people, they're really wealthy, they have lots of money, but they're really miserable because they've stopped growing. And I think it's very, very important to actually work on your personal growth. And it's just it depends your understanding of how the world works. Because if you learn to make money, and anyone can learn how to make money, but then you don't work on your personal growth, then that means you're not going to enjoy this world that you've worked so hard to be in it. So you need to make money, and then you need to actually keep growing. And when you keep growing, it helps you. Basically, you're promoting critical thinking, creativity, and curiosity. Like Amanda, she's an artist. So an artist, they have to be curious. You have to be somebody who is basically curious in things, who is attention to details, and also self-reflection as well. When you grow personally, you reflect on things and gracefully. So I think those are the things that are really, really important. You explore to new things, but when you actually grow, you learn to make money, and then you become a millionaire or a billionaire, you become really miserable, because at the end of the day, you have these fake friends that they enter your life and they just want your money, and then they make you miserable, and you won't be happy. But if you are into personal growth, it's a joy. That's all I can say, that it is a joy to be in it, this world that we all grow. It's a lifelong learning. Thank you, Amanda, for the topic. It's a very powerful topic. Over to you, Amanda.
I found the exact quote. So it says, your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And so it's a quote by Jim Rohn, and it's in the book, The Miracle Morning, which is the book I'm reading right now, because I'm always reading something. And what I really love about this book is that the author, Hal, actually was in a car accident and was brain injured, and was told that he would never walk again, and told that he had short-term memory loss. And essentially, for a long time, he was like, I have short-term memory loss. I'll forget what you told me. And then he started using the affirmation, my memory works really well, and I'm remembering everything and stuff like that. And then he actually started to be able to repair his short-term memory. So it's really what we tell ourselves about our learning that allows us to learn. So if we say, I suck at math, then you're going to continuously suck at math. But if we start to change what we say to ourselves in our self-talk around our learning around math, then we'll be able to actually change our perspective and change our reality around it. And so I had a parent the other day was like, oh, it's okay, my daughter's just going to not be good at math. And I'm like, no, that's something that you guys both have been like, oh, math is hard. So, and then I started telling her about the guy in the book that I'm reading and how he was able to actually be really purposeful and empower himself. And actually, there's so much research around brain neuroplasticity and our ability to actually regenerate our brains. Whereas before, the thinking was your brain's just is, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and your IQ essentially is like stagnant. But that's not actually true at all. We really truly can empower our brains and empower our lives and become lifelong learners when we continuously tell ourselves that we can be. And so I really think sometimes, especially through school, if you weren't given opportunities to think differently about your learning, then you might always struggle and be like, I hate learning. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done for the summer. I don't have to. But you can actually shift it, and it can actually become something that's exciting. And sometimes when we're learning, we don't even know that we're learning. So essentially, I took my class to the lake the other day for a walking field trip, and we walked to the lake and we built communities. And I had so many parents be like, this is amazing. Like, there's like working so well, and they're doing all these things. And we took our grade 1 buddies and we had blueprints of communities, and we had a list of about 20 structures that needed to get built. And it was really a collaborative project on like design your blueprint now. And there's so much learning going on there, and they don't even know it because they're learning through play. And so essentially they're learning cooperation skills. They're learning how to collaborate and how to distribute tasks to each other. They're learning how to be leaders, because we were doing it with our grade 1 buddies who also study community. They're learning how to overcome struggles, especially when the sand wouldn't stick and stay, or if somebody else happened to walk by and accidentally knock theirs over. Or they're also learning cooperation skills around like, don't build your community too close to somebody else's, or you're going to impede on each other and fight, which is also what happened with one group. And they were like, we're going to have a war against this community. And I was like, that's what happens in real life. That's what happened when people were coming over from Europe and essentially colonizing North America, as they just like kept creeping and creeping and creeping over and taking over the land that the other people were living on. And it truly actually happens in real life. And so we could have conversations like that. And then we could have conversations. I had one group where the 2 little grade 1s were just like being so silly and not helping. And and the 2 boys that were building with them were like, our buddies were not helping, and it was so frustrating because we were working so hard to get all our structures built and label them all and get everything done, and our buddies kept destroying things. And I was like, well, let's think about how this could be related back to real life. And I said, if you were a boss and you were asked to or contracted to build a structure or a building or a bridge, and you hire some employees that aren't reliable, are you going to get your bridge built in time? And they're like, no. And I said, so if you had to do something like this again, would you hire those 2 employees again? And they're like, no way. And I said, well, this is how we can relate it back to real life, what you just experienced. And so we had a lot of conversations coming back about how we could relate what we just did into our real life scenarios. And it was just so empowering, yet they don't realize that they're actually learning by doing these activities and there's so much learning going on, more than they even learned in the classroom ever, by actually putting them in real life situations in something as simple as a structured, meaningful task around building in the sand. And so really there's opportunities to learn around us all of the time.
Yeah, that's a great example of, I think, how effective learning is when you're having fun and when it's incorporated into play, or when it's incorporated into everyday real life kind of situations. And yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot. I was thinking about how amazing, how much potential we have as humans to learn and to do new things and to figure out stuff, and whether it's mental tasks or physical things too. And so in policing, which was my former career, there's a lot of really specialized jobs within that overall career. And so one of them that I really found where I had to learn a ton, and then to see from that beginning level where I had to figure it out to when I left that unit about 4.5 years later, the level of like knowledge and growth that I'd had in that time was unreal. And so I'll just kind of describe what those skills were I acquired. And it's just funny to think about too, is because they're so useless like in everyday life, these like the skills that I acquired. But anyways, I'll just describe it. So I was in this unit, it was called gang suppression team. And so our role was to go into, we monitored high-level gang members. So we would do, when they would be released on bail after they got charged with a crime, because everyone gets released on bail in Canada because our system is horribly broken. So we would have to go to their house and make sure that they were home, let's say if they had a curfew, or check that they were at their job, let's say if they had that as a condition. And then so that was kind of the day stuff. And then at night, we would spend the majority of our time in licensed premises, so bars and shisha lounges and different places that are licensed. So in Alberta, where I was living, it is a provincial law where if you're a member of organized crime, you're actually not allowed in a licensed premise. So what my job was is to go into a dark, dingy bar and find gang members. And so at the beginning of that job, or in that role, I would walk into these bars with guys that I was working with that had been doing it for a long time. And they would be like, oh, you see that guy over there in that corner? That's so-and-so. He's related to this organized crime group. And oh, that girl that he's with, yeah, she's used to date this guy. And I was just blown away by like, how do you know that? And how do you like figure that out in this dark bar? And then, so it was about, I would say about 1.5 years for me of kind of struggling my way through it and like not really feeling like I was able to do the job effectively. And then over time, I was starting to all of a sudden figure this stuff out. And so in our office for this unit, we had just hundreds and hundreds of pictures of organized crime figures on the wall, all organized by group. And so anytime we were in there doing our paperwork or eating our lunch or whatever, you were always surrounded by these faces. And so over time, you got to learn them because that was the job. And then, so fast forward, and then by the end of my time in that unit, I mean, I had achieved that level that I saw on those senior guys when I first started. And it was just like second nature. Like when I'd be training a new guy, it would be like, I can remember how he would have been feeling or she would have been feeling. And then to see how much knowledge and how much just crazy, like it was a skill to be able to pick these guys out and girls out in these bars, and how so tie this back to our topic today. So it's like that's possible for all of us. Like if we put in the time and the effort and really like dedicate yourself to whatever the task is, there's no limit on what we can learn, and there's no age restriction. Like if you're past a certain age, you can't learn something new. It's like, it's just wrong. And it's just, I think, an excuse again. So anyways, kind of an interesting example of how we can learn and master something at any point if we put in that time and effort. And then just to touch on Amanda's example from the book, there is the power of how powerful our words are. And when a doctor tells you that your short-term memory is broken, or a doctor tells you that you have 3 months to live, when you believe that and you speak that, you are literally bringing that into reality by your thoughts and your words. And so I think it's just important to highlight how critical it is to watch your words and how you're talking to yourself, because your beliefs are super, super powerful. Like that same individual, I guarantee, not that you could ever test this, but like if he wouldn't have changed that belief that his short-term memory was broken, he would for sure have probably a deteriorating memory. Actually, it would probably be getting worse over time rather than better. And the only difference is his mindset around it and his beliefs. So anyways, just wanted to touch on that.
I just want to touch on what you said about that mindset piece, because in his book and in his movie from the Miracle Morning, he actually gets cancer, and like stage 4 cancer, and goes through chemo, and he talks about his affirmations that he used to help him overcome. And they literally told him he had 3 months to live. And all of his affirmations were around like, I'm committed to beating cancer, and so that I can be there for my family, and all of these things. And he's overcome it, and everything's in remission. And it just like, he has the most amazing story, because he talks about how he essentially like died twice. Once when he almost died in a car crash, and then another time when the economy crashed and he was at like the lowest point of his life. And then he also gets cancer and then beats cancer. I'm like, this guy's amazing, because he has such a positive learning, growth, direction, and help others like mission. And I just am like so empowered by this. And then also think as well that like he's choosing to continuously grow and learn and be a lifelong learner, even though he's not necessarily in university or in what we have structured learning to look like. And I think that's part of breaking down what it is that we view as learning, is this like structured piece that you learn in this building and only from this age to this age. And that's not true at all. That's just one piece of learning. And maybe sometimes you have to unlearn what you learned in that building in order to have the power to have lifelong learning. So sorry, I just wanted to like, I was like, no, you're exactly right. And even more happened to this guy. And he still was able to use his mindset and growth and affirmations to shift all of that as well.
Yeah. It just shows how powerful that piece is, and how in our society we have these authority figures who tell us things and then we just believe it, and so we create it, right? Like whether it's that doctor telling you have 3 months to live, or whether it's the universities telling you that, well, this is the only place that you can learn in, and if you don't have this piece of paper, it means that you're diminished compared to the person that does, and how just wrong that is, and how it's really just feels like it's all those structures are there to like just keep us down and keep us from really realizing our true potential, because we are unlimited, powerful beings, but no one tells us that. It doesn't feel like, and especially in the past, right? As a couple decades ago and our generations, it just wasn't something that we were ever told about. And so it's just an exciting time, I think, to be alive, because all of this information is so readily available with the internet and podcasts and different media, where you can really tap into just people that have done amazing things with their lives and have amazing examples, like this fellow who wrote that Miracle Morning book, and so many others. And it's just it's a really cool time, because we've just bought into all of the kind of lies that we've been told, and certainly not for our benefit, right? It's just kept us small and kept us as good little factory workers. But there's a lot more going on, and our potential is just so much greater. So it's just exciting for sure.
Yeah, words are very, very powerful. The words we speak and the words like people that surround us, what they say to us, sometimes it can become our reality if we are not careful. So it's very, very, very important to actually, like Amanda is saying, that the guy beat cancer by just speaking words of healing. I remember once I kept going to the doctors, and they kept saying, we need to check your smear test. And I was like, listen, I don't have cancer in my family. No one in my family has ever had cancer. And it's not going to start with me now. And they kept checking. He kept saying, come after a year, come after 6 months. And then once I said to them, listen, in my family, we don't have cancer. And then they went to go and do it. And then when I did it the last time, and it was like, oh, everything is okay. I was like, yes, of course, everything is okay. I can't just allow you guys to say I have cancer while I don't have cancer. No one in my family, in my bloodline. So I was like, it's not going to start with me. So sometimes you just have to actually speak life to your life and just learn. I went mad the other day with the university. I want them to actually, I'm doing the research, and for me to move forward with my research, they need to approve my research. So they forgot about me, and I'm talking to other students. Everyone has been approved. So I was like, I'm sending an email, and they're like, don't worry, if you're not approved on time, you can actually postpone your exams. And I was like, but you're making a decision for me. What happened to me signing up to actually do the course and submitting everything with deadline instead of, and then I was like, I thought you actually ask for extension when you have a problem, but not just because you can. So I was like, that's not how it works. So then I had to write an email, and I was just saying, I don't understand. I just feel like I'm being discriminated here. And my tutor was like, no, we're not doing that, Nomsa. And now I'm having them every single day now helping me approving my project, because they actually put me behind. So I'm like, I need to do things on time. I need to learn. In order for me to learn, I need to seek help when I do need help, because what you are trying to tell me is the students can be lazy. Honestly, I just got annoyed. Every tutor that I speak to, they're like, don't worry, you can extend your module, you can do this. I was like, what kind of a university is this one that promotes laziness? I was like, you can't say that. I'm used to people that are pushing me to become who I want to become, not wanting me to be lazy. So she was like, in the end, they did understand the mindset that actually is not right. And I was like, this is the power of learning. I'm just here to learn. And like what Amanda was saying before, that when parents say my child is not capable of this, I always look at these parents when they say these words. I'm like, how do you know? How can you be horrible and say the words like that? My child is not good in maths, is not good in this. But you wouldn't know that somebody is not good unless they actually commit, they try, and you help them to actually commit to that subject or to that thing that they want to do. But how do you know? So, but some parents, they do that. They do talk their children down. And I think even adults as well, they do talk themselves out to say, I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this. Even with the relationship, I find clients sometimes they say, Nomsa, I'm in a place where I feel that I am never, ever going to get married or never going to find somebody. I'm like, how did you figure that out? And they're like, because no one really, I'm like, where have you been searching? And they're like, online. So I'm like, show me the profiles. And then when you look at things, it's like basically people that show you their bodies. So I'm like, how can you just judge your life by this when somebody is sending you their private party and you judge yourself based on that? I'm like, you can't do that. You are unique. The fact that you're searching, somebody is searching for you out there. So you don't have to give up when it comes to life. Life is all about learning. We can write every page about our lives. And it'll be amazing if we were actually look at our lives and see like every problem that comes our way as a skill. I was watching this girl yesterday on YouTube and she was like talking about what Nico was saying, that she said she made lots of money, but because she didn't have the knowledge of how to spend the money, how to actually look after it, and also the mindset. And she was like, and then the money, it goes. When you have it, it goes. And also, if you work really hard, you get told you just work really hard. Some people work double shifts. They think their lives is gonna be okay. But actually, it does not. You have to learn the secret of how do these people who are successful, how do they manage their lives, the skills that they learn, and just listen to their story. But looking at myself as well, you wouldn't get the whole story unless you actually sit down with somebody and talk to them in person and they tell you their story. For me, if somebody was to come to me starting my business and becoming the person where I'm going now, if it was to sit down with me and tell me, Nomsa, tell me one thing about life, your life, learning life, the things that you've learned. For me, everything is don't give up. Because there were times where I needed to give up and I get up in the morning, I continue and I find it breakthrough. There were times where when you learn something, like you get up in the morning, you feel like, you know what, I want to give up. Hi, Dave. We love you. And Ashley. So times where you do things and then you're like, you know what, I want to give up. But then you get up and then in the morning, you're like, no, I can't give up now. And you find that you're at the edge of breakthrough. So those are the things that I'll give somebody advice that when it comes to life, never stop learning. Yesterday, we had John Gray. We were learning about it. After we spent time, we came off online and we're talking to him and just chatting. So all those things you learn about people as you go when it comes to life, you just have to be somebody that is eager to learn new skills. I'm not saying go and get 20 degrees. You don't need 20 degrees. The only thing you need is how to put the puzzle. Life is a game. How do you put the puzzle? Don't just learn how to make money. Is the manage stress, like what Nick was saying. And this world is the world where sometimes it can be so cruel. So what do you do when you meet somebody and they treat you bad? What do you do? How do you respond? That's not your story. You don't respond, you move on. So those are the things that you have to learn in life, learn how to cope with the human beings and learn how to cope, get rich. That's why lottery people, they win money this year, next year, they are broke again. Because to them, it's about going and buy fancy cars. They don't invest money. So I think that is amazing. This topic is actually showing us that learning is a powerful tool. And the words that we speak about ourselves as well. Like, I'm never going to do this. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. Just if somebody says do it, just go for it. Just do it. I just learn things. Sometimes if I can't do anything, I'm actually, if you ask my family and the people around me, some people think I'm annoying, but I'm not. Because if you don't know something, why not ask for help? You learn. Or no, instead of giving up, I don't give up. If I don't know how to do something, I don't give up. All I do is I ask, I seek help. Seeking help is not about like just paying somebody. No, there are ways that you can help others and then they help you out as well. For me, that's what I do. And mostly I don't ask family members anymore, and I don't ask friends. And I feel that I always see people that come through is like coaches like you guys in the network, my network. I always reach out. Do you need any help? And somebody will be like, yeah, I need this help. So I know that one day when I need help, I'm going to reach out to that person, or I'm just learning. We are Ngozi Talk Shows coaches, we learn from each other as well. So I think that is a very powerful topic. Amanda, thank you so much for choosing this topic. And the guy for the miracles that beat cancer shows that the words we speak, they're powerful. Over to you, Amanda.
Yeah, I think that so much of us have this like yearning to grow and learn, and yet we get stuck because of things that we were told before. So it's almost like sometimes in order to have the power to continuously grow and learn throughout our life, we have to unlearn some things that were taught to us before. And so the unlearning might be things like, oh, as you get older, memory starts to go, or as you get older, you can't teach a dog new tricks, so you're stagnant. But that's completely opposite from the truth. And also, if you were told in school that maybe you weren't good at this or you weren't good at that, then maybe you're going to always feel that way, and you need to unlearn those ingrained things that your parents or other teachers or things people have told you throughout your life, so that you can surround yourself with people who are going to help uplift you and help you become a lifelong learner. And so I often think about like, okay, if it's, what's this thing that I want to achieve in my life? And Nick could probably talk a little bit more about this too, because if you're like, okay, I want to become a lifelong learner, I'm going to start doing this because this is my goal. As you take steps in that direction, you don't need to know all of the steps to get to the very end. You just need to know the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And I just read a quote the other day about like writing, because I write books and I illustrate books, and well, that's one of my passions is to write and to empower people through writing and creating. And so it was a quote about writing, and it said, in writing, you don't have to know the end, you just have to know the next step. It's like going through the fog, and your headlights can only see so far ahead, and you just keep going and keep trusting, and eventually everything's revealed to you along the way. And essentially that's the same with learning. You don't need to know all of the complexities in order to be able to build a website or publish a book or start a clothing line or start a relationship business like Nomza has. You just need to know, okay, what's my first step? What's my step today? And if you don't know, just take a minute, breathe in, and just be like, ask, what's my first step? And something will probably come to you. Maybe it's even something that seems completely counterintuitive, like go for a run. And maybe on that run you run into somebody that's like, oh, hey, this is what, but there's that intuition that just told you go for a run, and you're like, that makes no sense, this is my goal has nothing. And but if you go do it, that might actually get you in contact with a person or give you another idea as you're running, or something that's going to actually take you along the path that you actually need to go. And so sometimes in our path to learning, we actually do things that are counterintuitive, and we keep like banging our heads. If we don't trust those intuitive pushes, we keep banging our heads into what we think we're supposed to do. So if we think we're supposed to like sit at our computer and write, if we want to be an author, and we're sitting there and we have no ideas and we're stuck and we have writer's block, well, you think that going for a run is going to be the absolute opposite of what you need, but it truly might be exactly what you need, because it'll give you time to run it all out, and then you come back and you feel refreshed and more alive, and you got all these ideas just come to you, flow into you naturally as you're running, and you get it all out on paper. And it actually took less time than if you would have sat at your computer for 6 hours. And so I always say as a teacher too, I'm like, I don't do well in meetings because my brain doesn't sit, I can't learn, I can't think outside the box when you stick me in a meeting. I will come up with an idea in the shower, on a run, at the gym, while I'm paddleboarding. All of my best ideas come that way. They do not come when I'm sitting there in a meeting and trying to plan and push through the blocks that I have. I know intuitively now that if you tell me, come up with an idea for this, I'm like, okay, just let me think on it and give me a day or two and I'll come up with something. But if you told me I had to sit there for 2 days and only focus on that, I would come up with nothing. So I think sometimes we really have to unlearn what it is that we are constructively told in order to become lifelong learners and learn in new ways that we never actually were given the options for before as well. Nick, what do you think?
I think that's great advice for sure. And getting into your happy place, whatever that is, whether it's going for a run or paddleboard or whatever, is like, again, like you said, very counterintuitive. You think, oh, I'm not being very productive here, but how important that is, and how, yeah, those new ideas come flowing in, and how things just feel different then when you get back to your whatever your task is, how much more productive you can be. And I love the example that Grant has given on a couple occasions where he has a client that they've actually measured his business success in terms of sales if he goes to the mountains and takes that time for himself versus when he doesn't. And not surprisingly, his numbers are a lot better when he takes that time to go and do go to his happy place. And so I think that's just a really important thing for people to remember and to heed that in their own life, and to do those things that bring them joy, because it is the opposite of unproductive. It's it's very good for you for sure. And then I just wanted to talk about, I guess, just some of the positive benefits of lifelong learning. And it's, for me, it's a feeling too. It's like, you just feel better when you're expanding and growing and doing new things. And I think that then helps with your self-esteem. You feel more capable. It's definitely good for your brain in terms of neuroplasticity that we've talked about, and those new neural pathways. That's always a really good thing for you when you're growing, because it's like in nature, if a tree is not growing, what is it doing? It's probably dying, right? And the same thing is true for us. Like you hear so many examples of that. And it's when someone retires from a job that they've been doing their entire life, what happens to them? We all have heard these stories forever. And it's usually a sad story, right? Is once that purpose is gone out of their life, and once they aren't contributing to society, it's like now they believe that, oh, I'm not contributing, so I'm not useful. And so what does their body do? It starts shutting down, and they end up dying, and again, that comes back to their mindset and what their beliefs are. And if you believe that you're contributing and you're a part of a healthy society, then you keep on living and keep on contributing. And when you believe the opposite, then very much the opposite is true. And then we're just talking about, or you were just talking about intuition and listening to that. And I can't stress how important that is. It's something that's very individual for each of us and what that looks like. And it's like a muscle. You have to work it out and feel it, and then actually take action based on those intuitive nudges. And then the next time it's going to be a little stronger and you're going to be a little more sure of yourself. And that's where the magic is when you start listening to your gut and listening to your intuition. The good things in life don't happen when you're struggling and beating your head against a wall, right? It's when you're in flow and things are just happening naturally. And yeah, you listen to your gut to go for that run, and then you bump into someone who's like the exact person you need to take this next step in whatever it is in your life. And it's like when you start to surrender into that and let life happen, that's where the magic is, for sure. And then just, you mentioned too, Amanda, about taking just that next step. You don't have to know the end step. And which is probably a good thing, because if you knew how much work would be involved, you might not get started. So it's kind of a positive that we don't really know all of the steps. And that's definitely been true for me on my journey, because I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And when you start doing something new and expanding and growing, right, you don't know because you've never done it before. So you just have to take that first small aligned action step, and then that next one will come, and before you know it, you'll look back and have learned a ton about a bunch of different things that you had no previous experience in or any knowledge of. And you are on the path to your highest self at the end of the day. And that's when you start listening to your intuition and taking those steps and not being scared to put yourself out there and step outside of your comfort zone and to learn new things and to do new things and to meet new people and all of those things. That's where life gets good, in my opinion. And when you stop listening to all those societal conventional wisdom thoughts or whatever, that this is what you should be doing. And for me, when I go like the opposite direction, that's when I'm my happiest. I don't fit into a box, and none of us do, but we've been, just crammed in there for so many years that we just buy into it at a certain point, almost like give up. And it's just wrong. If you have that nudge in you, or that knowing that there's something more to your life, you're right. There definitely is. You're going to have to do something different though, right? If you can't expect different results if you keep doing the same thing. And I think what we've highlighted here, all of us, is that learning is just a huge part of that, and lifelong learning and being committed to always growing. Because at the end of the day, like I said at the beginning of my little talk here, is that when you're not growing, you're going the opposite direction, and that's not good for anyone.
Yeah, that is so true. I like it, what Amanda was saying, that you don't have to know everything. Like, imagine if you were to know every step that you have to take and the problems that you have to acquire along the way. That would be like, I am not doing it. So I think the exciting journey about learning is when the idea comes into your mind, and get excited of taking that idea, like Nick, what you're saying, that don't fear, because fear will always be there telling you that you are not good enough, you don't have qualifications, you don't have this. Like myself, I started the matchmaking business through a date. I went on a date with somebody, and that person went, okay, Noms, I'd love to see you again if you like to see me. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And this guy came back. He had actually printed every regulation of matchmaking business, everything. He went to the big file, and I was like, I thought we were going on a date. Why am I getting the file? And he was like, no, we're not going on a date, Nomsa, because your mindset is somewhere else. And I feel I need to work on myself and catch you to that level where you are. So you actually taught me something, and it was like, I think you'll be good at it. Have you ever had a job called a matchmaking business, dating? I was like, I know about dating. And I was like, I think you'll be good at matchmaking. So we need to sit down and start your business now. So, and then that's where my business started, but I wasn't scared. I didn't get scared. I was like, okay, if he sees good in me, I'm going to have to try this. I'm going to have to, I didn't need to do any research because everything was there. All I needed to do, I just needed to understand. I just needed to take paper by paper. I think I had about 7,000 copies that he has made. So I needed to just go to the website where he's been. He just did all the work for me. So I just said, thank God. I thank God for that. But that was how my business began. If I was to say, I'm scared, I don't think I'll be good enough, but I took the challenge. And before you know it, I started. There have been challenges along the way, but challenges that's what is exciting when you face the challenges and learning more about yourself. Because when you are doing things like, my website disappeared on me, my emails disappeared on me this month, and then today I had somebody calling me. She goes, Nomsa, do you realize before the phone call comes to you, no one answers the phone? And I didn't realize, it sounds like the phone rings first before it can ring the office. It rings somewhere else. And I was like, that's not normal though, because there's somebody who's meant to answer the phone. And she was like, no, when it rings, it doesn't actually go through straight away. You have to stay. I'm sure some clients are giving up before. She was like, I tried it twice. So then I was like, okay, this is the journey that I have to. It seems like everything that the umbrella of my business is just been having problems after problems. But because I'm learning how to deal with problems, and I have learned how to respond to problems. So that's why I'm not giving up. I'm just keeping going. So now I have to ring the phone company and find out why that is happening. Because I can't explain. It should be ringing, somebody should answer it straight away. If I'm not there, I'm not there. There's always somebody there. So those are the problems that sometimes you acquire along the way. And also, Nick, you mentioned about when you are struggling, you can't think properly. For me, when I'm struggling with something, I just tell that problem to hold on. I've got where I need to be. If it's not a problem that I cannot respond, I cannot solve, I just say, you know what, problems, hold on. The website guy, his mom was in a hospital, he was building the website and then she became ill. So the guy that wants to publish the book is giving me problems that he wants to set up the shop, and then he's telling me how he can do it. I said, you know what? Why can't I just connect you with the website guy? You go in and help him out. Instead of sending me messages, you go in and help him out. So I'm just learning. It took me a long time to actually not to fear seeking help and not to fear asking. But sometimes there are friends that I have, sometimes they go through struggles and then they tell you a story after, and then I'm like, why didn't you say anything? They're like, Nomsa, I'm just learning how to actually communicate myself. So it's a struggle, but you can, when you are going through life is a journey. If you want to succeed where you want to go, the environment of people that you are in, they are in with you. So you have to be able to seek help. Like Nick was saying, that when you struggle, you won't be able to actually cope by thinking and getting creative. Power of thinking, you need to have a clear mindset. And having a clear mindset, it means that when problems comes, deal with them straight away. If you can't deal them straight away, you hand them over to God. I mean, that's what I do anyway. And then that's how I'm learning things and learning life, and also not to give up when it comes to life. And fear is not welcome in my heart. There's a song actually that says fear is not welcome. I'm casting it out. You can listen to that song. It has to be real to you. It has to be reality that fear is not welcome. And I remember when I came here in the UK, I was young. I told my dad, I want to go to the UK. My dad was, okay, fine, so when are you thinking of going? And I tell my dad is fine. And then I tell my mom, oh my God, the woman, she's like, how are you gonna stay? You're young. She just called the whole family, her family. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna tell my mom anymore anything. So you don't have to fear. When you want to do something, you want that promotion, go for it. You want to learn or you want promotion, you feel you don't have the skills, learn the skill. You want to start a business, but you don't have the skills, learn the skills. You want to find that special person, you want to get married to a rich man or a rich woman or a specific person, learn the lifestyle. You can't get married to a rich man if you don't know the lifestyle. You cannot get married to a rich woman if you don't know the lifestyle and the mindset that comes with it. So you need to read books. How do these people think? You don't have to be rich like them. If you want to date an educated somebody, you need to think like that person. Because if the mindset and everything is not in the same level, the relationship is not going to work. So you have to be in the same level with that person. If you date an educated person, you've got to think like them. A creative person like myself, Nick and Amanda, if you want to hang out with me, we've got to think similarity, want to grow. So why would you hang out with me if you don't want to grow? So that's what life is about. All these people that I hang out with myself, I hang out with people that are smarter than me because I need to learn from them. They tell me the books, like Amanda is always have books that she's always have a new release. She herself as a writer, she always has a new release. And she always has a new release of the book that she's reading. So sometimes she'll come to the talk show, oh, I'm reading this. Or if it's not the book that she's reading, she's released a book. Amazon, can you guys go and check out my book on Amazon? This is not a joke, guys, but that is life. So you have to live that life where you want to learn constantly. You want to discover more about yourself. This world is full of possibilities, is full of unending opportunities. The blessings are there. So get your portion. Not to feel sorry for yourself or to say I'm not good enough. There are things that I thought I wasn't good enough myself. But as I put myself out there, I close my eyes and I'm like, I'm gonna go for this. Even though I fear, but I just go for it and I surprise myself. Or sometimes if I feel like I cannot do this on my own, every decision that I make as a Christian, I always pray or I fast to get the energy that I need, the fear, so I can get support and then to go for the things that I desire in life. Over to you, Amanda. It's 2:00. Or do you have any words of encouragement or?
Yeah, whatever it is that you want to learn, take the step forward and just start, because we have opportunities to learn all of the time. And when you become intentional about your learning, that's when you really see the growth. And so even when you're learning through play, maybe you can even just stop and be like, oh, I'm learning, even though I didn't necessarily know it. Or if you're trying to empower children in order to learn, be really intentional with your activities. So playing in the sand can be really, really intentional and have so many learning opportunities that when you're being intentional about them, you can see so much growth. And so I really think sometimes we need to unlearn some of the things that we were taught in order to continuously learn and grow, because we are, like Nick said, we all have infinite potential. And so that's my words of encouragement for today. If you want to reach out to me, I have a free gift for everyone on my website on the mindful art of creativity. It's an ebook that you can download and spark your unique creativity within yourself. Nick, over to you.
Just thinking about Nomsa was talking about fear, and the opposite of fear is love. And so it's basically up to you to choose and to get out of that fear. I think learning is a huge part of that, and learning lessons from life. Even I think in every decision and in every situation in your life, if things aren't going well, there's a lesson in it. And trying to get to that point where you have that mindset of how is this happening for me instead of to me, getting to that point, even when things seem chaotic and it's seemingly negative things happening in your life, is figuring out what is the lesson in that, and how am I creating that, either with my thoughts or words or actions, and then fixing it and moving forward in a positive way. And so, yeah, lessons from the universe are huge. And then, because we're getting them all the time, it's just a matter of actually listening to them and then doing something different. And a big part of that is learning what it is that you need to do, or what the next step is. And just don't limit yourself, because we don't have any limits naturally. It's something that's been put on us externally by those that want to keep us small, basically. And so don't be small, get out there. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, you can contact me on my website, which is flowstatedesigns.ca.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nikki and Amanda. I am just supporting what Amanda and Nikki has just said. Just listen to the song, "That Fear Is Not Welcome in My Heart." Cast it out of your life and just continue that life journey of learning and contributing to the society. And you know, the beautiful thing, like if I was to die now today, and my deathbed, I'll be smiling, because I have contributed a little bit to the society. So just keep learning, and don't fear of anything, and don't worry about what people think about whatever decision and the choices that you make in life, because sometimes we don't go for what we are supposed to be doing because we want to please the other people. If I say I need to just get into personal development, and somebody will be like, why do you need to learn all that personal development? You don't need to all that, but you do, to handle stress. I am a happy Nomsa because I've learned how to deal with stress. When the stress comes, I don't respond to it. I can choose how I respond to life just by being the person that I am today. So we are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. And please join us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. If you're watching us on Facebook, and please like our Facebook page, and live with grace, everyone, and God bless.